Hey, welcome back to another Black City Coffee vlog. We found it. We finally found the profile. Took me 4 tries. Yeah. So we have the profile for the Costa Rica. 3 palms is what it's called on the website. We did 3 charge temps. And this is often what I do. I start with like, how much energy am I going into this coffee, you know, and when we're figuring out how to roast it. And when I went back to my old notes and I was like, 350, really? Okay, so I tried that, right? So right here, I'm going to show you 595, 360 charge. Okay, so just remember in my RoastPath, it's not like if you click on the link, it's going to show you a charge that is not accurate because there's some weird, it's not calibrated. Okay, so I charge off the PID, which is the number you see on the screen on the roaster. RoastPath 595. Actually, I'll put it in the title for you guys if you're interested. 360 charge temp. 591 was 370 charge. 593 was 350 charge. So I was trying to compare, you know, how much energy should I go into this roast? I find it easier to go like, well, how much energy am I working with? Like, how far are we going to travel, right? Yes, you're still considering like, okay, what are we doing? Like, is it a light roast? Is it a natural? Is it a wash? Like, yes, I think all those come into play, and it's sort of like a cyclic thing where, okay, if it's this charge temp, it kind of will influence these other things in the wheel, right? So let's go ahead and look at the one that worked, I think, because natural coffees need quite a bit of rest, I think, before they start to show their true colors versus like a washed coffee. They need a lot more rest, and they tend to change a lot for me in the cup as they start to age after roasting, right? As they start to off gas, they kind of change a little bit. So it just takes a little bit more time to find the sweet spot for coffees like this. And I've dealt with coffees like this before. It was called Mr. Pablo, which was from Colombia. 360 charge, 390 finish. I put it in the title. Okay, so yeah, I'll try to do that for the other ones as well, so that when you click into them, it's clear. Because see, you'll see this 389 charge. Okay, so that's not correct. A couple of key things here that I'm finding out and discovering, which is really fun. Which is, all right, we've got our anaerobic natural. Now I already know from past experience that I feel like I'm going to have a very, very short third phase. And I'm going to want to keep my middle phase kind of short too if I want to retain a sort of zing, sort of acidity in the cup and origin for this particular coffee. Okay, so not all anaerobic naturals will roast this way, but don't be afraid to try profiles that kind of look like this if it shows that it tastes good in the cup. Okay. So the only reason why I got to numbers like these is because I'm like, as I'm tasting the coffee, I'm like, dude, it's too roasty. So those were my clues to go like, okay, I'm still over roasting it for this particular coffee, for this particular like profile, because it's not true for all coffees. Okay. And you've got to let the cup kind of like guide you, meaning if you're after a certain flavor, let that guide you and not the numbers. These are the numbers that just resulted in what I wanted to do in the cup. A little bit later on the dry end, like versus a washed coffee, I would maybe come to dry end around 414. You know, I wouldn't be that wouldn't be uncommon, you know, because I'm throwing a lot of heat at it, and it's a high elevation coffee. I'm throwing a lot of heat at it, so I'm turning around pretty quickly. Okay. And so we have this sort of gradual curve displaying here because not only is it a natural, but it's an anaerobic natural. This is why this coffee was like tricky for me. I was like, okay, like I can see how a more sensitive thermometer is useful in this way. Because now this is what I was like, okay, where do I see the difference in using these quote unquote more sensitive and more accurate probes? And I think it's here. Maybe it's always been here, but maybe now I'm understanding it. That's probably what's going on. I'm just understanding it more as I tend to work with it. So now I get to make moves more minutely at the roaster. Okay, finally, I get some real like validation behind whether or not upgrading the probe was good or not, right? I was like, I don't know. If I were roasting medium roasts all day long, kind of like low to medium elevation coffees all day long, decafs, having a more sensitive probe, I don't think helps me there. Now, when I'm trying like my best to like pull out the most of this coffee can offer, don't under roast it, don't over roast it, and the window for that is very small. I mean, look at these numbers, right? 9%, almost reaching a minute here, keeping this under 3 minutes 30. These are small windows to hit, small targets to hit, and that's where I think the probe is useful. Okay, that's my updated statement on the probe. If I had different goals, the probe would not be maybe as necessary, I guess. And could you still roast this way with a 5mm probe? Yeah, because I did it. I did it. So yeah, still, my opinion on this probe, hullabaloo, 3mm or 5mm is always kind of like going back and forth in my mind as I keep roasting, keep learning. But hey, that's what it is. You know, coffee's changing, so my opinion can always change. This is the one that tastes the best in the cup. Now, here is the predicament I'm coming up against. 360 in the cup, not brewed, okay? Not brewed. So if I were to take this and consider, okay, now who is drinking the coffee? Okay? Because these are two different things. For me, this is, hey, as a roaster, I find this coffee very interesting. I'm cupping it, I'm getting all these exciting flavors, origin flavors. And I've been tasting different profiles. So we have the 360 here, 370, 591. This was a 370 charge. So higher, right? 10 degrees higher and quite a bit longer. This was the first roast that I did. That was a little long. Okay. And then I think we did another one. This one I roasted hot and fast, and I just wanted to see the difference. I was like, okay, this is the last roast I did, and I'm drinking it and comparing it as a brewed cup, not in the cup like cupping and, you know, doing the cold cupping thingy, but as a brew. Okay, so as a brew, and it's only been a couple days since this roast. When was this? 31st. Yeah, so just a couple days ago. This tasted better brewed. So while the 360 looks very nice, pretty, all the numbers make sense in a way, right, for this particular coffee. And then for shits and giggles, I was like, let's fucking go. Like, let's throw a lot of heat at it. Let's see how far I can push it in terms of, you know, heat and how fast I can move it. And this is what I got, okay? So a very short middle. Well, this is... I remember this now, and I'm looking back in my notes as well. I marked dry end a little late, so it would have been actually right here. So we're actually like probably most likely at a 3-minute middle phase, okay? So I didn't go back and say undo that mark, and I can't go back and edit this when it was actually 3 minutes, because on my real notes, because sometimes you know, you're not paying attention, you have to mark 2 notes at the same time. But that's a good thing you have to mark 2 notes at the same time, because if you make a mistake like this, digitally, you have your hard copy notes like right here to tell you. So it was actually like 3 minutes for the middle phase. That's good. And then a little bit longer on the last phase. So this was more developed theoretically, right? Finishing temp was 401. I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's just throw a lot of heat at it. And this one, which I did star, because at the time I was like, this tastes the best in the cup. 393 brewed. Here's the difference. 393 brewed, pour over, V60, versus, you know, it's better to just bring both of these up. Okay, here's the difference. of a minute 12 on the last phase here, because I was just trying to get it to reach a certain like time, because I was like, oh, this is cracking so early, this is finishing so early, wonder what this gonna taste like, it'd be hot and all this stuff. Here's the funny thing. Okay, brewed, this is my, taste is subjective, but I think this tastes better in the cup. It's more punchy, it's more developed, it's got a lot more syrupy body. This has a thinner body. But if I were to maybe perhaps brew this as an AeroPress, because we always have to consider, like, how are people drinking this coffee? How should people drink this, in terms of the profile that we've created here. So now I'm thinking this is better. So this is my little conundrum. I think it's very minute. As you let the coffee cool, you're just going to taste this influx of mango and strawberry and, sort of like a waffle cone kind of sweetness, but a lot of juicy fruit. Okay. Juicy mangoes. So those are the differences. Now it's, as anaerobic naturals do, is going to age a little bit, and as the coffee continues to rest after finding this, these differences, this profile, let's put this right here, put 370, charge temp, hot and fast, save. Okay. This one tasted better brewed, because I think what's happening is, even though this looks a little aggressive, okay, a little too much, or, maybe harsh or astringent, what's happening is when I think is when it's going through that V60 filter. It's a thin filter, by the way. So, there are different thicknesses in those V60 filters. I've got a thin one on there. It's filtering out some of that, harshness, and it's balancing it out in the brew. Whereas this one, it filters out the same amount of filtering that's going on with the filter, and it takes away sort of its body, So maybe if we did this 360, 390-ish finish, and we, AeroPress or French press or some kind of like direct contact with, and no filter, basically no filter, right? AeroPress has a filter, but it's small compared to, like a Chemex, for example, has a lot of paper. So yeah, this will be subjective. I have both of these going out for me to Coffee Fest, because I want to see if anybody can pick it up. If you watch the videos, you'll be like now on the lookout for it. But if I didn't tell you, I wonder if you would have, caught it. You would, I think in a like side by side for sure comparison. That's the only way to really, be paying attention to these sort of things. But I just found it really interesting. Another thing I want to share with you before I let you go is that with my new 3mm probe, here's what I'm finding, some more changes. Okay. So usually when I hit green to yellow transition, dry end right here, I'm usually, before, it would be like I'm approaching 300 degrees. I'm seeing the yellow in the sight glass. I'm checking it. I'm smelling it. Verified. And when I hit that marker, I will increase my air to medium and almost simultaneously lower my heat. Because the probe is telling me, it's not as sensitive. It's telling me, or it's reporting that it was okay to do that. That the change, those two changes weren't aggressive. Now it's reporting to me like that's too much of a step down. So I usually will manipulate air first if I want a more softer adjustment. And if I want a bigger adjustment, I move my gas, but never at the same time. And that's the big difference right now. And being able to do this sort of like very, very minute sort of like adjustments and stuff like this That's been the adjustment that I've been making. Because usually, or before, I could have made those adjustments sort of basically at the same time, but now I'm having to wait 10, 20 seconds in between manipulating those two controls so that I don't stall the coffee, or I don't have those long middle phases like I was getting with this particular coffee, right? Where's that first one? This was the long one, right? Because I was making that jump. I was lowering the heat. See this big crash, right? Almost like a big crash in the ROR. So it's reporting to me like when I hit green to yellow transition, which is here. Does it like tell you? No. Okay. No, it's right here. So green to yellow transition right here, I would, put my air to medium, and then also at the same time lower my heat. So that's why we were getting this sort of stalling of like, hey, you're just, it's improper heat management at this time. And that's what it's reporting to me, that I'm not managing the heat properly, right? Okay, there you go. And so that's why we had such a long middle. Still tasted good, thank God, because the quality of this coffee, this green, is so good. It's basically hard to mess it up, right? It's going to taste good, no matter how many mistakes I make, reasonable mistakes that I make. But yeah, interesting. I mean, if you're dialed, you'll be able to taste all that stuff. But for me as a learner, and doing things here, pretty interesting, pretty fun lesson to catalog. Anyway, there you go. As a reminder, I will be at Coffee Fest at Anaheim Convention Center. You have to get a ticket to admission. You can't just walk in. I don't think so. But yeah, you have to get a ticket for admission. There is a code for 50% off the ticket, where you can walk the floor and attend like classes for free. This will be my first Coffee Con, but it'll be August 7th. That's a Monday at 1:30 to 2:30. For 1 hour, I will be serving my coffee. This 3 Palms from Costa Rica. We will also be giving away a lot of free prizes. So you'll get to spin, follow Black City Coffee, of course, on Instagram, and then you'll get a chance to spin and get something for free. So from free coffee to keychains to the big grand prize, which is like a whole gift box, coffee, a mug, my last mug, handmade soap. I made some soap. I used to sell soap back in the day, so I'm giving away all those. Hopefully I can give those away. I just want to offload a bunch of this stuff, and because I'm not really focusing on that anymore. But yeah, hope to see you there if I see you. And I'm excited. It's coming up pretty soon. So yeah. All right. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.